welcome to this session where we are going to cover how we introduce DevOps in Allianz. The way we introduced DevOps in Allianz was using continuous improvement, Kaizen practices. So here we are going to showcase you how the delivery saved hundreds of man days on the delivery of the software. And well, first of all, we are going to present ourselves. In this case, is going to be focused on the Java side. We are not going to talk about mainframe, DB2, or other technologies that we used, because this is J4 and this is only for Java side. So I'm Guillermo Martinez. I'm a technology architect within Accenture's Liquid Studio. Computer science engineer who moved a little bit into the delivery areas. So I'm now an Agile and DevOps architect. And here we have Luis Miguel Miranda.
Hi, I'm an architect for Allianz Benelux. I work mostly on, on the domain of integration and everything related to several topics that we have, like robotics and big data and all that sort of stuff. Currently are starting up in our organization. Perhaps we should start with the context now?
Yeah, you can explain a little bit.
So just a very quick,
Allianz?
What we mean, because when I moved to the Netherlands, not a lot of people understand what the company is. It's just a small insurance company in the Netherlands, but actually is very big globally. And that has quite some impact locally. Because we're all over the world, enormous number of employees, that's all very fine. You probably think that, I don't know if most of you know, offshore is also Allianz. And that represents actually that a company this big has its own IT consulting company, which provides software within Allianz as package solutions. And that results in, actually, we have a bigger dimension outside that impacts us in the Benelux. To explain what happened a little bit and why we started this discovery into DevOps, actually was pushed by an integration. Because we had 3 small companies of Allianz, Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. And to make it into a bigger size operational entity, we created a big program, like 10 years level of program, to integrate them all in a single company. And in a single infrastructure, a single set of solutions. And for that, one of the cornerstones of the change was a core package solution developed by Allianz. We have several. And this is the one that is used for bigger size operational entities for bigger countries. And basically, this comes with a large footprint. This expected to change all of our business from multiple core systems from different countries into a single one. And it's a project that is still lasting for 5 years. Started with waterfall, as you may expect, with its own methodology coming from Munich. Thankfully, in the last years, together with the improvement on delivery going into SAFe, we managed to also improve on that aspect. But this was not the beginning. In the beginning, we started with a project with more than 200 people working on it at the same time on a lot of different locations, not just within Europe, because in Europe we have our offices in Rotterdam and in Brussels, in Luxembourg. We have also our partners that we have from our implementation partners, Accenture.
Yeah, which is based on India, our delivery part.
Mm-hmm. We also have SQS, which is part in India and part in Cairo, and MSG for the migration of our other core systems. So basically, what happens in these sort of projects, which are so big, is whenever something is blocking, it is imperative, because you're blocking 150 people. You're blocking the developers, you're blocking the testers, you're blocking the business from validating functionality. So everything becomes a train of stress and pressure. I don't know if you face it a lot in your projects. When they have a certain dimension, every small issue that you have becomes a pressure. And that is an issue when you want to keep improving your processes and when you want to actually make something better. And to explain why it was so tricky, the previous core that I mentioned before, developed by Allianz, is called ABS, Allianz Business System.
Let me interrupt you one second.
Sorry.
Also, something that I wanted to mention there is we had a lot of people working on the project. And you always have to find standardized ways of working because people were leaving, coming. So if you're a small team, you can always guide them on these practices. But in this case, it wasn't that possible because I don't know how many people have been working there in parallel, more than 200. But
this is in
coming
parallel,
and going.
Coming and going, it was way more. Because it's sort of hidden the amount of people that shift through the testing and shift through the development. Actually, if we count the amount of people that work in the project, which be around the 500 ones that have been shifting around, that also has a big impact, because knowledge comes and disappears within the organization very fast. One thing that made this more challenging than most is that we didn't start with a greenfield solution. This core that we're mentioning here, Allianz Business System, is a core used all over the world. It's not just used for us, it's multiple instances, sometimes multi-tenancies, but it comes with a big, large footprint of technologies that come from 20, 30 years ago, some of them. The application even started as a Power Builder front end with a DB2 integration, later migrated for Java. I think some of you may relate to that sort of things. We still have a strong mainframe component, which is tightly bound to our database. We have our own persistence system made in Java. We don't use Hibernate. We have our own ORM. We have our own framework that manages everything for that, developed by the group. And basically, that sort of framework that is the Allianz framework for this solution is quite big. That's why there is the idea within the group, and that is one of the biggest Java implementation projects, because the size of the solution on the Java side and on the PL1 side, but mostly on the Java, is enormous. Because we need to comply not just to one client, we need to comply a package solution to manage to all of Allianz and all of our businesses. It works not only for insurance, but also for the AWP, which is a support system for every claim that you have outside of your country. So all of these companies work with the system. This basically comes with a technology stack that keeps evolving, because it was not very new. Right, it's about 20 years old, something of the sort, perhaps a little bit more, and they keep evolving. And that results basically in big changes to the clients that already implemented this, which are quite a lot. So the changes are very much structured in batch, and you need to upgrade, usually half a year. You're mandatory to upgrade to a new version, and that usually comes with changes not only in code, that usually break, it's an upgrade problem, but also in frameworks as well. It's an ever-evolving project with a very specific set of infrastructure that, of course, we have our own data centers within the company. We don't outsource that. And come with its own complexities, which had to be managed as well.
Yeah, indeed.
Now there's, of course, the good push to move to the to cloud, on-premise, with OpenShift and Pivotal Cloud Foundry. Actually, their full deliveries come now with the full DevOps stack and so forth. But in the beginning, this did not exist.
Yeah, actually, in the beginning, the word DevOps was something that it was never mentioned there. No one understood what was that. And even I remember the support team, so just maintenance teams, they call themselves DevOps. And then you wonder, what are you doing now? Just fixing applications. But why you're calling yourself DevOps? Because we sometimes fix stuff from applications and sometimes part of operations. So that's why we are DevOps. Well, this is not DevOps.
Correct. A lot of people start calling DevOps without actually changing the mindset of the company. Yeah? You still have big chunks of delivery working with waterfall, and that sort of goes the closeness that you need to have between operations and development that basically define DevOps did not exist in this sort of concept. You need to change the mentality as well of the company. So basically, the project was complex to start. And when we go in the objectives, we wanted to compile our different platforms. I probably didn't say, but we have a lot of platforms running on shared code, and each of them have independently deployable units, which are very specific, with its own configuration, with its own properties for security. And the objective itself was to compile, build, deploy, and integrate with a multiple amount of systems. In at least here it shows 5 environments. We actually have more.
Yeah, so basically what we received here is We just received a huge Java application, the core application part, and honestly, we had no clue even how to compile it. It was so complex solution, OSGi project, EAP, PP, and several things, that it was not done by us, so we really didn't know how to compile it. We had some guidelines.
A mix of Ant and Maven at some point, and it was just a set of heterogeneous technologies that we had to cope through in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think that part was, and there was a continuous push to delivery and to not to block a deployment, because if a deployment stops, a build is an impediment, you're blocking like 50, 75 testers offshore, and that is a build that you have to foot within the company. So what was the challenge?
Yeah, well, the baby grew a lot. The baby became a teenager really fast way, and we were not really able to control it. So initially, something that everyone were happy. We have a new project. We are going to do something very nice. We are going to change the whole Allianz business system in once.
Yeah, remember, we were a Microsoft company with .NET.
Yeah, everyone there in Allianz were Microsoft-based. This solution is Java-based, and they said it doesn't matter.
And Linux, fully Linux.
Yeah, and fully Linux, something that they never saw before. So they said, okay, it doesn't matter. We will learn and we will help. And it's good. Everyone was happy with that. But then the pressure came. We have to deliver. Innovation, learning, all these kind of things are not valid. We just need to deliver. And that was the focus. So initially, we struggled ourselves in order to build everything, being able to deploy all the components. We had backend, front-end, ESBs. We have all different components. So we found the ways how to being able to deliver and move it through the different environments. However, the way to do that, for first time, it was very manual way. Okay, we need this, we need that, so send it here, ask the guys to run these statements, and figuring out all the time. However, at a certain point, implementation started, the real implementation, customized part. And we had to deliver, but the blaming game started to happen. Developers were complaining, hey, I coded it properly, but you guys, operations, are just breaking it. However, operations guy was saying, no, we are doing it well, but also we have problems for management. They are asking us too many things at the same time, so we cannot deal with it, and we are losing control. We don't know what's happening. Business guys, they were just pushing and pushing and pushing, asking, you have to do that. While you were doing this thing, they were asking again, you now need to do this other thing, you now need to do this other thing, this other thing, this other thing. So by the time you were doing the 5th thing, you forgot about the first one, which wasn't finished. So it was just a mess at a certain point.
Yeah,
but we had to deliver.
Yeah, the waterfall weighted a lot on the delivery part.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a blaming game between development and operations saying, I gave you the right code, why didn't deployment properly? And the operation saying, you gave me the wrong configurations with the wrong setup, why this is happening? And then you promote, and then the configurations are not updated to the changes that you did. And then there's everyone gets upset with each other, to be honest.
Yeah, so focus was deliver and maintenance if required, hot fixing, it doesn't matter in order to deliver. But again, people were not happy, and when you are not happy, you start to complain. And that make a risk on the delivery if you start to complain. My role there was to optimize the delivery. That's what I had to do. I couldn't stop it. I couldn't say, hey, guys, we are going to stop, and we are going to start thinking the new ways of delivering that. No, it doesn't work like that. So I thought, OK, we can use continuous improvement. Why? Because on one hand, we have to deploy everything. We still have to make all the deployment steps. But on the other hand, we need to think about what are the areas that we can optimize and we can apply these solutions. So that's why I thought about continuous improvement could make the difference.
In a pragmatic way, that was the important part. Because if you try to sell this as a major transformation on an ongoing project, it won't fly. Either you do it with pragmatic steps, or it gets complicated, like you mentioned.
Yeah. Big Bang, honestly, couldn't work there. We didn't have the time, we didn't have the resources for make a big bang and change everything. So it was just focus on the small steps. What are the things that is compromising the delivery, and small things that I can start fixing so I can gain a little bit more time to fix the other ones. That was my focus. That's what I was looking for. Okay, here we have some issue. Let's take a look. Let's fix it. because it's quite small, so let's start like that. Let's start small and then grow on the optimization. So that way, we can always move forward, never backward. I would never ask to stop a delivery. It's just, okay, let's go in a paced way, improving everything. But for doing that, everything comes from here. First, you have to be able to change. You have to be able to think about what are the things that I need to change? How can I change? How can I improve myself? Well, I might need some time, or I need to organize myself a little bit better. So what we found initially is patches around and workarounds. When something was failing, we just were applying patches and workarounds, something that might work initially, but then if you put patch after patch after patch, then it becomes a mess and you cannot really control it. Also, something that I was very frustrating was communication by email. We were sending emails every day. Well, I'm part of Accenture. I'm more or less accustomed to receive more than 100 emails a day. But honestly, the guys on Allianz, especially the IT area, they were not accustomed to receive more than 100 emails a day. And what was happening? Well, sometimes some requests were there. Then you were asking, what happened here? I lost the email. I never read that. There are too many emails, and it has to be solved. Organization is a must. A good organization, way of working is a must. Yeah, something else that it wasn't very nice, and that's why some people actually left Allianz, is because amount of work that they were doing. They were working on demand, working on parallel again.
Yep.
As I said before, they were working on something, somebody else was coming to their desk, I need that, and then somebody else, I need that. So when everyone is king, no one is king. Everything was top priority, everything. Yep. And people were just, I cannot deal with that, it's impossible.
So these were a list of issues that were quite troubling.
Yeah.
The blame game, the lack of structure, and
the lack of knowledge, because it was new technologies, and we didn't have the time for.
Yeah, it was tricky because it was a lot of platforms at the same time. You just didn't start with a single thing. You started with 7 or 8 platforms at the same time, and 2 of them didn't actually match to each other. There's a big gap between the mainframe impacting the Java runtime, because it can.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also they were accustomed to work in some way with the .NET technologies and so on, that it wasn't applied in this case of Java, and also they were accustomed to deliver some way that it wasn't the case in this time with ABS. So they were trying to use the same solutions they used in the past for this one, and it didn't work that much.
Huh?
But, okay, if we move a little bit on the first delivery.
When you want me to change, just not.
Okay. So that's what we had initially. Everything ran manually, but at least everything was running, which, of course, you need to. Collaboration, as I said, everything was email, Excel files, so a little bit hard to find where what you were looking for. Integration was just a little bit on Eclipse, anti-scripts, which they didn't perform that well. Dependencies management was were stored in a Subversion. Don't do that. Don't store binaries there, because
platform
binaries should be forbidden. But it was the way we were doing that because we were in the hurry of delivering, and that was the only option. We had no internet and no possibility of going to internet to fetch dependencies, so we were very tight there. Everything was working, yeah. Quality was good, yes, but it was slow, and it was just breaking some heads sometimes. But we were able to deliver. Okay, that's good. But we needed to optimize it. We really had to make it a little bit better.
It's meaningful to say that the development was fully done by Accenture offshore, and the deployment and release management was done by Allianz onshore. So that created also a lot of, let's call, entropy between the 2 of them.
Yeah, so what was happening here, it was a little bit, coders were committing the code to SVN, and they were sending an email to operations asking them to compile, build, and deploy the application. So everything way manual.
They weren't even building themselves, huh? So most of the commits they did broke everything.
Yeah, they didn't know the status of that. They were just putting code that looks good. Even sometimes they were creating compilation issues because, I don't know, each component they had like 20, 30 developers. So they didn't really know what was happening, committing the classes. And then when operations were building it, they were
painting hell, but that's what happens when you start too fast implementing something you're not used to.
Yeah. So, yeah, we were able to deliver at a certain point, but it wasn't good. A lot of issues, a lot of problems. However, the quality in production was good because it was another way. So then is, okay, we have something, but we need to improve. Nowadays, the way to improve that is using new techniques, new tools, new technologies. So why not to use them? Well, why not to use them? Because most of the times the problem was management. No. How we are going to put a tool that I never heard about? How are gonna put, for instance, Jenkins? I never heard about Jenkins. No way. No. They thought they were going to lose control of what we had. And it's not that. It's the other way around. You gain control on what you have. So I focus a little bit on every new idea must be accepted in terms of at least listened. Maybe not implemented, but let's listen if you have suggestions, because that's very important. Then, manual execution? No, at least I want the scripts, dynamic scripts, no hard-coded ones. So let's try to start moving forward. Let's try to optimize a little bit the delivery.
Yeah, it was a step-by-step until you get to Jenkins, because if you start automating things with scripts, you can easily then go into Jenkins. It's in a far easier way if you start in a single bloated thing, yeah?
Yeah, then also something important that I found is lack of motivation. People were not really motivated because they were doing the same thing day after day, the same recurrent thing day after day, so it decreases the motivation. And when people are not motivated, they don't work properly, they don't perform properly. So the way to increase motivation was if we do some new stuff that gives us good results, I think the motivation will increase, and then you will want to continue doing things. And I think this step,
it motivated a lot our operations team. Huh? They were a little bit, they feel a little bit isolated, not really participating. When they start developing these own automations and feeling on the top edge of what is happening, it gives them a sort of a boost. Huh?
So this increase in motivation made them to being able to, okay, I'm going to spend some time on learning something new, maybe at my free time, maybe after work, it doesn't matter. But they were willing to take new things, something that before they were not that willing to. And also the way of working. Way of working had to change. We were not able to work on demand. No, we need to prioritize. We need to see what are the areas to be focused on, and let's do that. Let's start working in an agile way. So that was kind of the second step, and probably the most important one. We put in place continuous integration eventually. We really put Jenkins after several discussions, after telling them why Jenkins was a benefit and why to use Jenkins. They eventually accepted that. So all the continuous integration was there. Code still in SVN, but now dependencies, they were fetched from Nexus, and I gave Nexus access to internet, because that way we could fetch the dependencies that we were needed. We changed Ant to Maven because it's faster and we can do a lot of things in that you can program in Maven easily. On collaboration, we introduced TFS. I have to say, I had huge fight how to use some collaboration tool, because most of them, they were like, we are not allowed to use that. We were not totally allowed to use anything in the cloud at that time. My preference was Jira, but Jira wasn't allowed. So I was just discussing, let's use this, let's use that. No, this one no, this one no. Why not? Well, because we have TFS already paid and we pay a lot for that. Why are we not using TFS? Because we don't really know how it works in this concept. Let's use it. Let's try. So, for instance, I put my team there, and then other teams, they were thinking, yeah, let's use it. It looks good. We are controlling what's happening. We are reducing the amount of emails, so it's good. It's just easy to manage everything. SonarQube was introduced for code analysis, something that these guys were doing before, really manual, watching the code.
Yeah, now it's even done globally and reported to the group to comparison between implementations of different countries, so that they know who customizes the most, who has the most violations, and on group, since we're using the same solution, they actually try to see how much they get for their buck. So this was this is actually and the same for Nexus, because the delivery of code on ABS at the beginning was very archaic, but now it's fully via Nexus chaining. So they have a Nexus on our core delivery, and they put the package that we use there. Then we mirror their access on ours. We also use other references from group, and that's how we manage to integrate all the deliveries from Allianz Group that we consume.
Yeah, it's a matter of trying to simplify the solution always. You don't have to break your brain just to think, how can I do that? How can I make it more complex to make it better? No, it's the other way around. It's how I have to break my brain just to, how can I make it more simple so I can control it?
And continuous improvement, because we continued improvement on automating all of this until we just stopped in prod, because that's a mindset we need to change there. But everything else is.
But for instance, now that you mentioned that, we were having a script. We really created the scripts for everything, dynamic scripts that we were able to use for deploying and so on. But there were two areas that I think they were key in the process. First, continuous integration. People were not really willing to use Jenkins, but when they saw how Jenkins was helping to reduce the amount of open issues from, and I calculated it, from 1.1 day to 1 hour 15 minutes. So we were having issues open for more than 1 day, and then after introducing Jenkins and continuous integration, it was reduced to 1 hour. They thought orchestration makes sense. That was first key achievement. But then the second one is, okay, we are able to build with Jenkins, but we are still deploying manually with the scripts, but manually. We are really sending a request and asking to deploy. So I had one of the most famous discussions on the deployment. They were not even willing to allow deployment triggered by Jenkins in test environment. So I asked them, okay, we really need to optimize that. We really need to automate it. So that's what we need to do. And I thought Jenkins might be the case. And they said, no, Jenkins, no. We cannot give Jenkins access to the test environment. No, because we are going to lose control there. So why? We are going to use, they were saying, we are going to use Control M.
If you guys don't know, Control M is a scheduling system for batch operations.
Yeah,
so
basically
it's not
calls.
Its role at all.
No.
It just is an octopus that controls every environment, so it was easier in terms of convincing the ISOs how to do it.
So I asked them, okay, Control M. How much time will take you? And they said 3 months for one component. We had at this time 7 components, and they said 3 months for one component. Oof, that doesn't look good. Can I trace that? Can I see what's happening? Will be it monitored? No, not really. But the solution will be based on, I think there were 30 Control M jobs plus 2 PowerShell scripts, and even that wasn't complete. 3 months for that, I said, no. It cannot be like that, really, because this is going backward. If we are going to do it that way, we are moving backward. So what can we do? Is to apply Jenkins. Give me 1 week. We are going to try to do it with Jenkins just to show you that another way of delivery is possible. And they said, okay. It took me half a day, a little bit more, because when I was asking them what to do, they were saying, make a Control M job for doing, no. What are we going to achieve? Control, no. Really, what are we going to do? Pick some build package from the Jenkins server, copy to the test server, and run it. This is what we want to do. You really need 30 jobs for doing that? No, you just need a copy and execute. That's what I did with Jenkins. Very easy. They really liked it. They thought, wow, that's incredible. I want it everywhere. I want it for all the components. Not in UAT, not in production, not in these environments, but at least in test. So that was one of the first keys.
It was conquering step by step. Huh? At this point, we have smoke tests already integrated, sonar on every build, blockings on commit. But we were able to start on a single big bang. It took convincing within the organization to change the mindset into fully trusting Jenkins. To when the developer commits a piece of code, it's built, run on sonar, run smoke tests, and goes to integration to the development integration environment. And then it keeps progressing according to the package that we have, and we're able to manage release versions better that way, and to manage our control of quality as well.
Yeah. So this time, people started to think, okay, we are really changing from not knowing how to compile or compiling by hand and with Ant to really make the delivery automated. We need to continue like that. We really need to move forward. So new tools were started to be accepted. No more proof of concepts, no more no as the first, and then you have to convince me, was more, if you have something nice, explain it, and we might think about it. So that was a change, agile way of working, new ideas welcome, manual tasks were totally removed. We cannot use manual tasks because, honestly, I was explaining them. The machines perform way better than us. And what we should do is not to execute, but to think. So humans should think, machines should execute. So far, maybe some days, in some years, they will think as well. But it's not the talk about this. But okay, at this time, it's just I don't want guys to execute. I want guys to think. And I think this is very important. And also is how much time they are spending at the office every day, how much time you are spending at the office, at least 8 hours. You should be happy with what you are doing. You cannot be just frustrated for 8 hours every day or more, and they go home, and then the same day, day after day, the same thing. No.
Yeah, and part of the introduction, the mindset was actually managing the team in the agile way in terms of operations. So a team that was managed in terms of priorities, you first come to the desk, you first get served. It changed into an actual agile way with TFS to manage the task, manage priorities, schedule when we are delivering something or not. That was a big change as well in mentality.
Yeah. So then third step is almost everything was running automatically using Jenkins and so on. So all continuous integration, even Eclipse, we were adding some plugins there that helps the developers to work in a fast way. Code coverage, unit testing, smoke tests, regressions, everything was automated. So we were able to really go in cadence to production, not having issues, detecting every defect in an early stage. So we were able to just to fix them initially, instead of going till, I don't know, UAT, detect something, go back. No, it was just detected early stage and we can move forward. No more manual actions, no more emailings, no more things that they shouldn't be there. And of course, this is just some mid-stage. It is a little bit of highlight. We did way more than that. But at least we were able to really being able to call it DevOps.
Yeah, it's industrialized now. And teams now, even the new projects, cannot survive without it. The point is now even bringing other legacy projects into this sort of way while they are still alive.
Yeah, so think about this is a monolithic application. It's not microservices one. It's a huge thing that is there and we need to automate it. Of course, after they saw how we are able to deliver using all the techniques on DevOps, they started new projects as microservices. And that's important because these microservices at a certain point are going to replace this system, and it's important. But this system has to run, and this system has to run without or giving the less amount of maintenance possible.
Yeah, like I mentioned, it's, this system is something that needs to evolve gradually. So indeed, there is a push to move into microservices, but it's something that's going to take years. And like with a strangler approach, you start building something around a big monolith, and you start to kill it slowly. By removing functionality out of it. But it's something that takes time. But in order to start this, you need to have DevOps. Otherwise, it makes no sense to advance with Spring Boot applications, or otherwise it's going to be hard to manage and to operate with them. It's just crazy to do microservices without having full automation everywhere.
Yeah. Something that you see there at the end is DevOps as a service. Well, that's something I created through Jenkins. It's not the way to do it, but it's something we had to. Why? Because all the infrastructure is not owned by us. It was just somebody, third party, and we were only having access to some folders, but we were not able to change any server. But by changing the server, they were required.
By third party, I mean another Allianz.
Another Allianz, yeah. But another Allianz which belongs to kind of
different. In Germany.
Yeah. So we needed change in the server, and most of the times we were just going as a root, changing the stuff there, and it was just creating the usual, it worked in my environment, but it doesn't work in the other.
And important to say that this was critical now that we're moving into PaaS, that since we already have this methodology, we're able to migrate easily to cloud on-premise. If you don't have this sort of knowledge and this way of working beforehand, you'll be very much handicapped when you move to real infrastructure, from physical infrastructure or virtualized infrastructure, IaaS, into PaaS.
Yeah.
Or SaaS.
So basically, we created some kind of interface that allowed the people to interact with the servers without giving the possibility of breaking something. So everything was controlled through Jenkins. So you were given some parameters that were controlled through Jenkins already. So you were not able to put things that couldn't work, and you were able to manipulate the servers like that, because we couldn't use Chef, we couldn't use Puppet, we couldn't use anything like that. So we had to find a solution that is applicable and works fast. So, okay, after that, what we end up is with having a huge cost reduction, 80% on the deployment related, and it's not 80% because the amount of people that we were working there is 80% because the amount of people that they were waiting till something was deployed. So we had a lot of testers waiting, we have a lot of developers waiting till things got deployed.
That's money you throw away, yeah?
Yeah. I just I really make the calculation, and I think we saved like 3,000 or 4,000 euros a day on deployments, just because the people that they were waiting for that issues were fixed very fast in this way, because Jenkins was just sending notifications, hey, the integration test here is failing, and it was giving you exactly where it was failing, so no more just random debugging here or there. It's just concrete actions to take.
And an email to the developer.
Yeah. It was just getting the notification there, and they could even go to the screens and see what was happening through the build, proceed with the plugins, and it was just giving the line of the code. Most of the times, here you have the error. Operations guys, at a certain point, they were overloaded. After that, they were just breathing again, which was very good for them. Test deployment was just continuously doing that. Just a non-stop test deployment. Whenever they want, they could do it, because why not? Why I'm going to block a test deployment? They can do it. Release management was controlled by Jenkins as well. So no more, wait, we need to think, we need to plan, we need to... No, it's just continuous release.
Deployment and building becomes a cheap commodity then. And it's something that can use and really enhances the way you develop. Yeah.
Initially, the first year, I think we deployed to production 2 times in the whole year.
Now we're doing monthly or more regularly.
Yeah, every 2-3 weeks. 3 weeks, I believe, is the time right now. We are able to go to production. And not only that, first times, it was just, this weekend, we have go live. This weekend, guys, stay with your phone close by, be aware that we will contact you. So, yeah, be careful. Now we go live. Okay, go live. Perfect. I'll go out, I'll go to some pub and drink some beers, because I don't expect you're going to call me. No.
Even in production, they use the same scripts. There's just the mentality there of actually changing to give command to a system to deploy to production. Everyone is like, yeah.
So here I put a couple of real examples based on the time, on the deployment time. The portal, I just took one of them, one of the components. The minimum take that it was taking before, when it was manual, it was 25 minutes minimum. However, the average time was 55. 55 was because, well, we were sending an email, a request, somebody was running it. So 55 was the average time. So it means sometimes it took more than 2 hours. So we had people waiting for more than 2 hours there. After automating everything, 5 minutes. What about if we want to deliver the whole system, which I think is right now 7 gigabytes of code, something like that, I don't know, insanely amount of code. Well, average time was more than 2 hours for deploying. Average time for deploying, and I have to say, for deploying in one environment, not end-to-end. For deploying in test, more than 2 hours. Why? Request here and there, the amount that the time that was taken to build everything. After automating everything, 9 minutes, 9 minutes. So they were just, okay, testers could wait for 9 minutes, or developers could wait for 9 minutes? Absolutely. 2 hours? No. And also, why not 2 hours? Because when you're waiting 2 hours for doing something, it's just, you are bored. It's just, I'm not doing nothing.
And the cascade of build disappeared. Huh? When we had multiple deployments and the configuration management was not automated, there was a pinpointing. If you lacked to inform me that this configuration needed to change, and then it was developers saying to the operations that they didn't follow their release management of the 15 pages that they really receive every request.
So This presentation has been only some highlights. We really went more deeper in host, in mainframe, in DB2, but it's just some highlights because, well, we just had barely 40 minutes to present something. Okay, we did it. It's possible, really. It's just a matter of you have to try. You really have to try. You have to organize yourself, and you need to give it a try and see how you can improve it. But we're still working on that. It's just, it's never end. What else? Well, you have to think about what can I improve. Sometimes it's not an issue. Sometimes it's something that you can improve. You can think about that might be better. Okay, then let's analyze that. Let's create a solution that fixes the root cause or really fix it from the root. Then let's see if we can integrate it and see how it behaves. And then again, it's just continuously. You cannot stop, really. Because if you stop, then you go back to the maintenance mode, and maintenance mode is not something good.
Yeah, now the job of our operations is to keep improving, not to just keep doing stuff per request.
So, well, basically that was all that we wanted to show you today. We are open to listen questions. If you have any question, if you want to ping us, even there outside, feel free, LinkedIn, whatever as well. Because, again, it was just some highlights. Think about the size. It was a huge project, so we couldn't really put everything here. It was just some areas.